It's only in the Champions League really that Leicester are shining this season. The fairy tale of just 5 months ago when they were winning the Premier League seems a distant memory now, where the start they've made to the Premier League season is absolutely terrible based on last season's high standards. They've only got 8 points from 8 games. They've conceded 13 goals already, and they're really struggling. It was epitomised by their 3-0 defeat at Chelsea on Saturday. But in the Champions League, it's 2 wins out of 2, and they're really pushing, it seems, for success in Europe. If last season was about enjoying the surprise of pushing for a first ever Premier League title, now it's about challenging to win a first ever European title. Well, this is a concern for the manager, Claudio Ranieri. He's bewildered how his team exceeded expectations so wildly last season, and yet this season in the Premier League seem to have taken their foot off the gas, so to speak, and they are not as hungry. He's actually written in the programme notes tonight in the magazine, the Matchday magazine, he said that he wants the players to play like they're desperate again in matches, to really push for glory. And he sensed, I think, the players are focused on Europe, and in fact the Tinkerman, as Ranieri was known, has returned. He started changing the lineup around. He was renowned for that when he was Chelsea manager more than a decade ago, and he rested key players, Mahrez on Saturday at Chelsea, and he'll be coming back into the lineup for the game against Copenhagen tonight. The big concern now has got to be around Jamie Vardy. He was the striker on the hot scoring streak last season. This time last year he scored in 11 consecutive games to create a new Premier League record. He's now gone 7 games without even managing to score for Leicester. So Leicester really need him to be back among the goals, although they have managed without him so far in the Champions League this season, winning both their opening games against Bruges and against FC Porto. Well, Slimani is one of the few big signings they made in the summer, another Algerian to complement Mahrez. And you've got to question why Vardy has not been performing to the level he was at last season. Is it psychological? Is it the sense in the mind, the fact they've achieved the unthinkable last season so much in outperforming the elite, in managing to land that elusive title from 5,000 to 1 outsiders to title winners? And remember, Vardy very nearly left Leicester in the summer to join Arsenal, as indeed Mahrez was also touted with a move away from Leicester. But both Vardy and Mahrez committed their futures to Leicester, seemingly wanting to continue the dream of last season to win yet more and to produce yet more astonishing moments in the Leicester history. But he's not managed to reach those same peak levels. Maybe it's because there's an issue across the team as a whole, and Leicester really do seem to be missing Kante. Kante was the big name who actually did leave in the summer when he left to join Chelsea, and it's his industry as the defensive midfield in the heart of the team that they really seem to be missing those interceptions, those tackles. And to many, he was actually like Leicester playing with 12 men. He was almost like 2 players on the team, and they have really lacked him in midfield, providing that shield in front of the defence, which perhaps freed up some of the other players. And the key issue for Leicester is going to be, as well as pursuing their ambitions in Europe, making sure they don't fall behind in the Premier League. The fact they don't want to be drifting close to that relegation zone. They only have those 8 points after 8 games, and 40 is seen as the magic points for survival. And they're going to have to balance that first ever European title bid with their domestic priorities as well. Well, this is the challenge for Leicester this season. Last season they had the luxury of no European football because they hadn't qualified, and they were able to focus their resources on those 38 Premier League games. Now they've got to balance midweek games and the weekend games. They do have the luxury of being at home this weekend, so there's no trip across Europe. But it's not an easy game against FC Copenhagen. They are top of the Danish league. They are leading the way there by 6 points. They've not even conceded a goal in 4 games. They're on a 21-game unbeaten run this season in all competitions. So they are going to be a tough opponent tonight at the King Power Stadium. And their manager, Staalbakken, he is a familiar face in English football because he was at Wolves 4 years ago when they were in the second tier. And in that time he actually faced Leicester and in fact won. So he's got some experience, the Copenhagen manager, of actually beating Leicester tonight. And now Leicester have put their priority on the Champions League. They're really going to have to perform in it, and it would still be pretty remarkable if Leicester did actually, in their first season in the Champions League, go on and reach the knockout phases in the new year.